When I opened my eyes, we were in the club room. It had been a rushed, haphazard job, but we made it. And yet, how did you teleport in here, demon scum? We seriously teleported right in the middle of an enemy camp? President Issei. It was Gasper. I spun around, and there he was, my cross-dressing junior. He was tied to a chair, and his head was covered in a paper bag. Or had he put it there himself? The president let out a sigh of relief to see that he was safe. Gasper, thank goodness. I was so worried. President, I don't want to do this anymore. He managed before breaking down into tears. I'd rather be dead. Please, President Issei, kill me. All because of these eyes. I'll never make any friends. All I'll ever do is cause problems. I'm a coward. He bawled his eyes out. Having been captured and used by the enemy, he was convinced that he brought us nothing but trouble. The press flashed him a warm smile. Don't be silly. I won't abandon you. Do you remember what I said when I reincarnated you as a member of my familia? That now that you were born, I expected you to live for me. And also to find your own happiness too. Gasper, however, shook his head at those words. I couldn't find anything. All I ever do is make a nuisance of myself. I don't deserve to live. You're a member of my familia, Gasper. You're my servant. I won't abandon you so easily. Especially not now that I finally permitted you to go outside. That's right, Gasper. The President and I aren't going to quit on you now. Even if he couldn't help to use the sacred gear properly, he was just going to have to accept it. Directly in front of me, a female magician viciously struck Gasper and removed his bag before yanking his head back by his hair and flashed me a cold grin. Now that I had time to look at it carefully, I noticed all the magicians here were women. Did that make them witches? I had a thing for witches too. Fools! Talk about ridiculous. Treating such a dangerous half-breed vampire as if he was a normal person. Your old guard had it right. You gremmaries might be strong, but you're beyond stupid for letting your compassion get the better of you. The witch stared across at Rias with contempt. Maybe this wretch would have been worth more to you if you hadn't bothered to wipe his mind and use him as the tool he is. If you had thrown him into the den of the fallen angels and overloaded his sacred gear, you might have been able to take them all out, their leaders included, in one blow. But you didn't. Why not? Don't tell me you actually expect to befriend a creature like this. Why you? I moved to strike the magician down for that remark, but the Prez restrained me. Why hold me back, Prez? That damn magician doesn't know a thing about you, but she's standing there and spewing insult after insult. I can't let that slide. I don't care if she's a girl. There are things that you could get away with saying and others you can't, damn it. I treasure my servants, Rias responded calmly. Come on, Prez. It's okay to get angry in a situation like this. There's no point trying to be civil with this kind of fanatic. The magician fired a small mass of energy straight at the Prez, partly blowing away your uniform and revealing a small patch of pure white skin. I could make it out to be the edge of her breast. You're an impudent one, aren't you? I don't like you, Gremory. What gives you the right to be so beautiful? You're a demon. The magician's tone was rife with jealousy. She pressed the knife against Gasper's neck. Move, and this kid dies. Let's have some fun, shall we? The magician lifted up her free hand and loosed another mass of magic. The Prez made no move to dodge. Damn it, I threw myself in front of her. The projectile hit me just below the neck. It hurt like hell, but I withstood it. Still, what gave that crazy woman the right to launch an attack straight at the Prez's face? No way I was gonna let that slide. The Prez's face was off limits. I was seething with rage, but Rhea stepped out from behind me and said, Gasper, I want you to keep causing me trouble. Lots and lots of trouble. I'm going to scold you again and again, and then I'll comfort you, but I'll never abandon you. Prez? I know that wasn't meant for me, but I was still touched. We really do have the best master in the world. Alright, Gasper, you heard her. So, what do you have to say now? President, I... Yet again, he started crying his eyes out. But this time, I realized they weren't tears of fear or sadness, but joy. Now it was my turn to lift his spirits. Gasper! I called out, my voice echoing across the room. Gasper, I'm going to put my feelings into words and hurl them your way. Don't run away. Don't be afraid. Don't cry. We're all your friends. That goes for me, the Prez, and Akano, and Azia, and Kiba, and Konako, and Zenobia. None of us will ever abandon you, and we'll never leave you, Gasper. I've raised my left arm into the air. Boosted gear. Boost. A red gauntlet enveloped my forearm. Now it's time for a promotion. Prez, I'm promoting to a queen. Rias nodded, and with that, my energy level surged. There was only one thing left to do. Ascalon. Blade. A new voice echoed through the room, and the tip of the latest weapon burst out from the end of my sacred gear. Ascalon. The witches stood on guard, ready to defend against me. However, I aimed the point of my blade not at them, but my other hand. I temporarily suppressed the sword's power and slashed the palm of my right hand with the blade. Ouch. The blood seeped from the cut. Issei? Rias watched on with apparent confusion. Don't worry, Prez. This is for Gasper. But you know what, Gasper? You won't get anywhere if you don't walk on your own 2 feet. A super beautiful girl just encouraged you, so stand, Gasper. With that, I thrust my left arm in the blood-soaked Ascalon towards him. Before the magicians could react, blood flew from the edge of the blade onto his cheek. Drink up, that's my blood, filled with the ultimate dragon strength. So show us what kind of man you are. Gasper nodded, his eyes filled with determination. He licked at the blood dripping down his face. The second his tongue made contact with it, the atmosphere of the room underwent a sudden shift. An eerie, inexplicable chill ran down my body. I glanced across the chair where my junior was tied down, and yet, he's gone. Why wasn't he in the chair? Did he disappear? All that was left were the ropes that had bound him. The witches stood in stupefied shock, scanning the room in panic when there came a strange noise. I glanced up at the ceiling, only to see more bats that I could possibly count, gathering above. The red-eyed creatures quickly descended on the witches in a fell swarm. He's transformed. That damn vampire. Die. Spouting insults all the while, the women hurled magic through the room. However, something reached out from the floor, knocking them off balance and pulling them to the ground. Black arms had appeared out of the magician's shadows. Could vampires always do that? Take this. The witches fired a volley of projectiles at the ebony limbs, but the things didn't seem affected, merely dispersing and reforming. At that moment, however, the bats above descended upon the women, clawing and biting their bodies. Are they trying to suck our blood? No, they're absorbing our magic too. The magicians were clearly struggling. They were entirely at the mercy of the bats and the shadow arms. Is that Gasper? One of his vampire powers? Issei, this is one of Gasper's latent abilities. Drinking your blood must have unleashed it. The press explained. So it really was him. Gah, you're not leaving me much choice. The magicians pointed their arms this way. They were aiming for Rias and me. A wide wave of magic projectiles came flying towards us when they stopped in midair. Every one of them. It's no use. I could see your every move, Gasper said from an unseen place. The bat's eyes were all glowing crimson. So that's how he was using his sacred gear. Every single one of those magic projectiles had been suspended in the air, so my blood had given him the ability to control his powers. I'll stop you all. At once, the eyes of the bats flashed, freezing all the witches. Issei, now, you're up. Leave it to me. I dashed around, tapping each of the magicians on the shoulder, then striking a cool pose in the center of the room. I cried out, "Dress break!" The clothes of those magicians frozen in time. Even their underwear came flying right off. A feast of naked feminine flesh unfolded before my eyes. I could see and touch them as much as I wanted. I could feel a nosebleed coming on as I smiled triumphantly. Gasper, we're invincible when we work as a team. You're right. My junior would freeze our enemies, and I would strip their clothes from their bodies. We were all powerful. We were undefeatable. With this, I could finally make my dream come. I don't think so. The press scolded, whapping me on the back of the head. By the way, Ddraig, what exactly is Ophis? I asked the dragon inside me as we tied the magicians up and shoved them into a magic circle in the center of the room.
Ophis. I hadn't heard that name in a long time.
Yeah, so who are they? I thought back.
The most powerful of dragons.
Does that mean they're stronger than you and the Vanishing Dragon?
Yeah. Stronger and mightier than God. Ophis was the only being that even God wouldn't dare to cross. A true monster. Possessed of unlimited power.
Seriously? I had no idea there were dragons stronger than you and Albion.
He's the only one that exceeds us. In this world, that is.
Well, that's... I didn't know quite how to put it. Something that ridiculously overpowered was the terrorist mastermind? The prez activated the magic circle, sending the magician straight to the authorities in the underworld. She had explained that they would be arrested and imprisoned. She had also taken a moment to change into a fresh uniform. We wanted to keep those witches alive as witnesses to use against the terrorist organization. That said, while we were tying those women up with the ropes, well, I couldn't help but imagine all kind of dirty things. Issei, is your hand okay? Gasper asked. He had already returned to his normal form. Now that he was wearing the ring-shaped item that Azazel had given us, his sacred gear hopefully wouldn't go out of control on us. Yeah, I'm used to scrapes like this. I've been impaled through the stomach a few times by the fallen angels after all. What? Really? Issei, that's so violent. Gasper replied, his voice trembling. Really? Looking back, I suppose that I've been caught up in some pretty gruesome stuff since becoming a demon. I got to enjoy a happy life together with Rias, though, so I didn't mind that much. However, some part of me wondered if I was careening towards an early death. Nah, that's just my imagination talking. No use thinking all negative like that. Anyway, how do you feel now that you drunk my blood? I asked. Good. My powers increased for a bit, but they're back to normal now. So there was a time limit. Regardless, it sounded like he would be able to put up a good fight, so long as I offered him a little blood whenever he needed it. Alright, that's all of them dispatched. Now then, Issei, Gasper, let's go back and help the Demon Kings. The prez declared. Our mission had been a success. Okay. Gasper and I responded in unison, following behind her. We left the room and began making our way to the main entrance of the old school building. Gasper clung to my back the whole time. First Azia, now him. It felt like a lot of people had been holding on to me recently. I would need to do something to help improve Gasper's recluse nature. No sooner had I thought up an idea when we reached the entrance. Something crashed hard into the ground in front of us. Once the dust settled, we saw... So it's a betrayal, is it, Vali? It was the governor of the fallen angels. He was visibly injured. That's right, Azazel. Amid dazzling radiance, the White Dragon Emperor descended. He was with a woman I didn't recognize. The second you decided to make peace, we took steps to abduct your half-vampire and initiate our attack. The plan had always been for the White Dragon Emperor to join me when the time was right. Even eliminating a single leader of one of the three factions should be enough to bring end to this peace talks. Whoa, Talk about a sexy outfit. Her clothes all but exposed her breasts for all to see. Through the slit in her dress, I could practically see all the way up her legs. She was wonderfully erotic. What is this indecent gaze I feel? Don't tell me this child is the Red Dragon Emperor, Vali. The woman asked. Yeah, I'm afraid so. Pathetic, huh? Answered the White Dragon Emperor. Who are you calling pathetic? I'm doing the best to live a decent life. Anyway, why are you attacking Azazel? And who's that woman? I replied. The woman stared at me with pity, as if I was a blithering idiot. I see. Truly a sorry wretch. Vali, kill him. I'll be honest. I'm not sure if I should. I wasn't expecting him to be here. Uh-huh. What's going on? I didn't understand. I must be losing my touch. Letting someone so close to me turn on me like this. Azazel said in self-derision. So, the White Dragon Emperor is working with the terrorists? And this woman is one of them? Vali retracted his mask into his helmet, revealing his face. How long, Vali? What pushed you over the edge? Azazel questioned. They reached out to me when I was taking Kokobile back to the headquarters. Sorry, Azazel. The vision of the future sounds more interesting. So does the Vanishing Dragon now serve Ophis? No, it's more of a collaboration. They offered me an enticing proposal. Fighting against Asgard. I've been looking for new ways to test my power. How could I refuse? Azazel, you would never wage war against Valhalla, against Azir, would you? You don't like conflict. I may have told you to become strong, but I also warned you to refrain from putting the world in jeopardy. That has nothing to do with this. I just want to keep fighting until the end of time. I see. Perhaps I always knew that one day you would leave my side. Ever since we first met, you've always wanted to prove yourself against the strong. The woman sneered. We have a White Dragon Emperor to thank for laying the groundwork and gathering the necessary information for this attack. It wasn't like you, letting him run loose despite knowing his true nature. You sowed the seeds of your own destruction. With a backwards glance at Azazel, Vali slammed his fist against his chest and declared, My real name is Vali Lucifer. What? Lucifer? I am a descendant of the deceased, original Demon King Lucifer, though my father, the grandson of the old Demon King, and my human mother, although a circumstance of birth, I owed my sacred gear to my human side. Or perhaps it was fate for the Vanishing Dragon to wind up in the hands of the true heir of the Lucifer name. As if. With that, a pair of demon wings burst out of Vali's back, along with his suit's wings of light. He's a demon? The White Dragon Emperor? And a Lucifer, no less? The original Demon King? Impossible. It can't be. The president's expression betrayed her disbelief. Zazel, however, confirmed it. It sounds like a joke, but it's true. He'll likely become the strongest White Dragon Emperor ever. Past, present, or future. I could hardly believe my ears. He was going to be the most powerful? Keeping track of all these incomprehensible developments was starting to get a bit tricky. I mean, I already had two individuals of mixed blood close by, Akano and Gasper, and now Vali too? Prepare yourself, Azazel. The woman cheered once more. Just who was this person? She wasn't even looking my way, but I could still sense her ferocity. That massive aura, a gift from Ophis? The woman chuckled at Azazel's question. Oh yes, the dragon of unlimited power. They granted me this small sample for the sake of our mission. Thanks to Ophis, I'm strong enough to fight you now. I'll also have a chance to destroy Sir Zex and Michael as well. They were foolish leaders, just like you. Yeah, I'll take that. Maybe I'm a fool. I wouldn't be able to do a damn thing without Shamhazai. I'm just a sacred gear fanatic. But you don't really think Sir Zax and Michael are foolish too, do you? At the very least, they're head and shoulders better than you. The woman's face contorted in rage. The ramblings of a doddering old fool. Fine then. I'll finish you here and now. The governor of the fallen angel's death will be the first step in building a better world. Though the woman's voice was ripe with conviction, Azazel looked curiously pleased. He reached deep into his pocket, retrieving what looked like a small dagger. The woman stared back dubiously. I'm more than just obsessed with sacred gears, he said, pointing the tip of the blade towards her. I've even been known to forge a few replicas myself. Well, most of them are junk, but there's no helping that. Really, making these sacred gears is about the only praiseworthy thing God ever did. Unfortunately, he didn't think them through very well. He had to go and kick the bucket without fixing those bugs that we call Longinuses and balance breakers. Never mind how they upset any sense of fair play. Then again, that's the part what makes them so interesting. Don't worry. There's no way sacred gears will survive our new world. Society will still function without them. We'll wake the old Norse god Odin sooner or later. And then the world will be changed forever. The woman boasted with a self-assured grin. The more I hear, the more I want to puke. Azazel spat back. Valhalla? The Aesir? As if I'm going to let Odin snatch everything. But more importantly, if you're thinking of taking away my life's pleasure, I'll erase you. Azazel's dagger began to change shape. Small pieces separated from either side, and a brilliant light spilled from within. Impossible! Azazel, you can't! The woman exclaimed, only now realizing what was happening. Then the voice of the governor of the fallen angels echoed forcefully. Balance breaker! The area around it was engulfed in a sudden flash. When the light faded, a figure guarded in a full-body suit of golden armor was hovering in its place. The radiant figure resembled a dragon. 12 ebony wings unfolded from its back. Black features were spiraling around him. The metallic dragon flapped its wings. Whoa, talk about cool. Azazel had outfitted himself with something like my scale mail. Not only that, but he was grasping a spear of light in his hands. This is my masterpiece, the Downfall Dragon Spear. An artificial sacred gear born from the research into the Vanishing Dragon and similar weapons. It's a pseudo-balance breaker state. I call it the Downfall Dragon, another armor. I could sense the presence of dragon in that armor. It was no ordinary weapon. Azazel was now emanating one of the most intense auras I ever felt. Kokubu hadn't even come close. Whoa, was there some bargain sale on balance breakers recently? I thought these things were supposed to be rare.
No, that isn't a true balance breaker.
What is that supposed to mean, Ddraig?
My guess is he's pushed the sacred gear into burst mode and has forced it to activate. He's basically overloading it. It will probably fall apart by the time the battle is over. Maybe his artificial sacred gears are supposed to be disposable.
A disposable sacred gear? Even if Ddraig was right, that didn't explain how it was emanating such amazing power. Still, Azazel's research into sacred gears must have been more comprehensive than I thought, if he could pull this kind of thing off. So long as its user didn't die, a real sacred gear would regenerate no matter how many times it was broken in battle. On the other hand, if a sacred gear was ripped away from its host via a special ritual, that would prove fatal. The jewel embedded in the back of my gauntlet, along with other gems built into my balance breaker's armor, served various functions that could be restored if destroyed. No doubt the White Dragon Emperors were the same. Haha, impressive, Azazel. Yep, incredible. Vali chuckled. How could he laugh in the face of such an opponent? Was he completely fearless or insane? Azazel turned his attention to the White Dragon Emperor. Vali, I'd love to fight you too, but why don't you go play along with the Red Dragon Emperor? He's kidding, right? Entertaining him was the last thing I wanted. It will be more fun fighting you, Azazel, Vali said. Then do that. I'm not interested in settling a rivalry right now. You base that on the dragon's power, no? The woman asked Azazel. Oh yeah, I've sealed the gigantic dragon, the golden dragon Lord Fafnir, inside this artificial sacred gear. I based the design on the Welsh Dragon and the Vanishing Dragon. It's been a success so far. He modeled that on the boosted gear? And who was this dragon he mentioned supposed to be?
One of the 5 great dragon kings. Azazel mentioned another one of them, Valericha, the other day, right? The others are the Chaos Karma Dragon Tiamat, the Mischievous Dragon Yulong, and the Sleeping Dragon Midgardsummer. But Valericha was defeated a long time ago and sealed away somewhere. From what Azazel just said, it sounds like Fafnir's met a similar fate. There were originally 6 Dragon Kings.
Drake's explanation was helpful, but a bit too much for me. There was no way I could wrap my head around that much all at once. I had heard the name Tiamat somewhere once before. I didn't have the faintest clue who the others were.
You might meet them one day. Tiamat doesn't like me very much, just so you know.
That sure sounded foreboding. I was getting pretty tired of all these damn dragons. I guess that must be why Michael gave me the dragon slaying sword. Azazel, even though you have that much power, you're still relying on a sacred gear?
Katara, you said yourself that you made a pact with the Ouroboros dragon.
Our reports suggested that your research hadn't reached this level yet.
Oh? I'm guessing your people got their hands on some of my findings then. But that won't help you. Only Shemhazai and I will come close to realizing the truth.
The woman clicked her tongue as a blueback aura flared to life around her. I am the blood of the great Leviathan, the true Leviathan. I am Katara Leviathan, and I will not be defeated by a cursed fallen angel like you. She howled. Hold on, she's Leviathan? Well, there was no doubting that she was closer to what I imagined than Seraphal. Azazel beckoned to the woman, to Katara.
Come on then.
Don't you dare mock me, she cried, leaping toward him at a breakneck speed, her aura raging. It only took a split second. She jumped within Azazel's reach, and he struck back with a spear. Crimson blood gushed from Katara's body. She fell to her knees, her strength drained. Looking around carefully, I spied a fissure extending from where she had fallen into the distance. The aftershock of Azazel's attack had left a deep cleft into the earth. Talk about power. The whole thing had taken only a moment. I won't be defeated. Katara's hand transformed into a long tentacle, and it wrapped itself around Azazel's left arm. Then a strange pattern took shape along her body. A self-destructive technique, the press exclaimed. Seriously? Does that woman really want to die that badly? Azazel tried to pull himself free, but the tentacle showed no sign of loosening. Azazel, there's no point in trying to kill me now. If I die now that we're connected, you'll activate a spell so powerful it will take you with me.
You're willing to sacrifice yourself to take me down? That's a cheap tactic, but I'll admit it's effective.
Issei, Gasper, fall back. You don't want to get caught in the blast.
But, Prez, what about Azazel?
If he's worth anything as the leader of his group, he'll think of something. There's no use of us dying. This was bad. I wouldn't mind dying with the Prez. Heck, that would be a beautiful way to go. But I didn't want to perish here. And I certainly didn't want it to happen, because I got caught up in a crossfire of someone else's fight. We put some distance between ourselves and Azazel and Katara. Even so, the Prez had deployed several layers of defensive barriers to meet the explosion. Gasper screamed. I turned his way, only to find some sort of spell-like pattern etched into his eyes. Sorry, but I'm sealing that one away. I don't want you being a problem.
Folly.
But you know, if an opponent knows about that ability and how it's activated, it isn't all that special. There are more ways than you can imagine to disable a person's vision. It's quite an exploitable power. A few illusions can turn his sacred gear against his allies. The White Dragon bastard was hovering in the air. But he was right. Gasper, like me, had a considerable number of weaknesses. Our sacred gears were incredible, but we sure weren't. Azazel, you were right. It doesn't matter how strong a sacred gear is if the host isn't that good. Heck, I couldn't even fly through the air yet, damn it. I wasn't too confident in Gasper either. We both lacked sufficient training. We watched Azazel from a distance. He still hadn't been able to break free from the Katsura's self-destructive tentacle. From the look of it, no matter how much he tried to attack it with his spear, he couldn't do any damage. That tentacle is fueled by my own life force. You can't break it, Katsura explained with a confident smirk. At that, Azazel gave up trying to cut through it, shrugging his shoulders instead. The tentacle, along with Azazel's left arm, came flying right off. Whoa, seriously? Blood spurted from the stub of his severed limb. The arm that Azazel sliced off crumbled to dust. Your own arm? Katsura explained in disbelief, but not before Azazel threw a spear light clean through his stomach. An arm's nothing. Katsura's body exploded into a cloud of ash and blew away with the breeze. Such tremendous force must have eradicated her in one blow. After all, light was poison to demons. But the look of it, there were no exceptions to the rule. Azazel's armor deactivated. He didn't seem to have any regrets about having lost a limb. Is this the limit of artificial sacred gear? I suppose there's still room for improvement. But so long as the jewel at its heart is still intact, I could rebuild it. You're going to have to stick around with me for a while longer, Gigantus Dragon Fafnir, Azazel said, lightly kissing the small gleaming object that he was holding in his hand. That was the end of the woman that called herself Leviathan. All that was left now was... Vali descended from the sky. Impressive, Azazel. I expected no less, but your armor's gone now. I guess you still have a few things left to research. The fallen angel turned to the White Dragon Emperor. Now then, Vali, how do you want to do this? Are you still raring to fight me? Even without my armor, one arm is all I need to take care of you. Azazel summoned another spear of light, pointing it at the Vanishing Dragon. Even injured, he's still going to fight? He's definitely got guts, I'll give him that. After a glance towards the fallen angel, Vali lobbed a question to me. Fate can be cruel at times, don't you think? What is he getting at now? On one hand, I, a descendant from the original Demon King, have a legendary dragon inside of me. And then there's you, a mere human, but also possessed of a legendary dragon. Such a thing can only be called a dark twist of destiny. Our dragons may be bitter rivals and close to equal standing, but the gulf between their hosts is immense. Does he mean me? I pointed to myself. Vali nodded. I've looked into you. Your father was just an average businessman. Your mother was a regular housewife with a part-time job. Your parents' bloodlines are perfectly ordinary. None of your ancestors seem to have any dealings with magicians or any other powerful entities, let alone angels or demons. You're about as unremarkable as they come. You yourself were just an ordinary high schooler up until you got reborn as a demon. You're nothing without your boosted gear. Vali scoffed condescendingly. You're so boring that when I learned who you were, I was more amused than disappointed. So this is my competition. I give up, I thought. Even if your parents had been lowly magicians, it would have been something. That's it. How does a quest for revenge sound? I honestly didn't have a clue what he was blabbering about. None of it made any sense. What I understood was that Vali, unlike Akno or Gasper, didn't despise his heritage. If anything, it was probably a source of pride for him. Some suffered due to the circumstances of their birth, and others found reasons to rejoice. The world was a whole lot more complicated than my brain could process. However, his next statement was unmistakably clear. How about I kill your parents? That will make things a bit more interesting for you, no? If they were to die at my hand, maybe then you will be able to devote yourself to your solemn destiny. Yeah, that sounds good. At this rate, they'll just have average lives. They'll grow to be old just like everyone else. And then they'll kick the bucket. Going out with a purpose seems a whole lot better than some wasted existence, right? Don't you think? I had no words what I was feeling. No way to express these emotions I've never felt before. Something inexpressible was building up inside of me, about to overflow. There was a lot of uncertainty churning around in my mind, but with one confident phrase rose from the doubt. I'm going to kill you, you son of a bitch. I whispered under my breath. At that moment, I finally understood. So this is what bloodlust felt like. You're right. My dad is an everyday salaryman who works from morning to night to provide for his family. And my mom is a common housewife who cooks for us 3 times a day. But they made me the person I am now. As far as I'm concerned, they're the best parents in the world. Why the hell would I let this bastard kill them? For all such a stupid reason? They had nothing to do with him. Kill them? My mom and dad? Why do they have to die for your purpose? You think you're important? You think you got a grand destiny? Get real. I couldn't forgive this man, Vali Lucifer. I won't let you. I would never forgive him. I'll be damned if I let you hurt them.
Welsh Dragon, over booster.
Responding to my rage, my sacred gear exploded with a powerful fiery red aura. Thanks to Azazel's ring, I had no trouble activating my boosted gear's scale mail. A symbol that looked like a countdown appeared on the gemstone embedded in my left arm. If it was a timer, then I had less than 15 minutes. Still, it was better than last time, which I only had 10 seconds. Look, Albion. Issei Hyoda's power has increased exponentially. It looks like his anger is his trigger. That's some impressive dragon power.
The simpler and stronger an emotion, the better it is for fueling a sacred gear. Issei Hyoda's anger is absolute and directed at you. Only a straightforward user can draw out a dragon's powers with this level of efficiency.
I see. So I guess in that respect, at least he's more akin to a dragon than I am. As if I cared what that bastard and his dragon were talking about. The only thing that mattered was that he would bring pain and misery to those around me if I didn't act now. But you aren't half as clever as you think, Issei Hyoda. You don't have any intelligence to control Ddraig. The fact that you've been matched with him is practically a crime. Quit blabbering. No one cares or understands. Your inability to comprehend is what makes you so stupid. Venting my aura from the exhaust outlets in the back of the armor, I launched myself full throttle towards Vali. He immediately covered his face with his mask. Looks like he was gonna get the fight that he wanted. This was only my second time using my balance breaker, but I couldn't afford to screw up like I did with my fight with Riser. Unfortunately, Vali deftly dodged my oncoming tackle, but I was hardly finished. I corrected my stance in midair and dived towards him once again. Then I lashed out with my embedded Ascalon and launched into repeated sword strikes. However, no matter how many times I swung the blade, I couldn't even land a single blow. Vali simply kept dodging in one flash after another.
Vali, that sword is a dragon slayer. Even a single blow will deal considerable damage.
Oh, is that right, Albion? It hardly matters if you can't hit me. Just as my damned opponent said, I wasn't even good enough to graze him. I should have spent more time training with Kiba. I would have to get serious about learning how to fight when I get the chance. I was temporarily capable of doubling my strength whenever, and as frequently as I liked.
However, each time you use it, it will drain both your stamina and your demon power. The more you boost, the more you'll lose. That is the nature of my balance breaker ability. Even in a temporary state, you're wasting your strength just by maintaining your armor. And no matter how impressive it is, that bracelet Azazel gave you has its limits. With every use, the length of time you spend in your balance breaker state decreases.
Even if all I do is hold my ground, I'm still losing stamina? Vali looks fine.
Your counterpart seems to have a tremendous demon power. The White Dragon Emperor similarly eats his host's energy after activation, but if its host has a large capacity to begin with, he'll have more time than you.
True as it was, that was the last thing I wanted to hear. The difference between us can end up being the deciding factor in our fight. Yeah, I was far and away the weaker one. That was obvious. He had a complete balance breaker, whereas I needed outside help. And even then, I was severely limited. Heck, more to the point, Vali's natural specs completely eclipsed mine. Gah! I choked. Vali had delivered a heavy punch into my chest, and it was so fast I hadn't even seen it coming. What a blow. My legs were trembling, and a crack had wound up down my armor. Too many strikes like this, and I would be done for. So this is all my rival is capable of. Ah, what a shame. You're pathetically weak. Vali laughed mockingly. Issei. The press was watching, visibly worried. I couldn't stand the thought of making a fool of myself in front of the woman who I so adored. Yeah, I came from two ordinary parents, until by chance, I was one day reborn as a demon, and discovered that I possessed the power of a dragon. Vali was born in a lineage of old demon kings, complete with legendary dragon abilities. I was devoid of talent, he was overflowing with it. Vali was the greatest Sacred Gear host, the ideal user.
Divide.
Echoed a voice from the jewel in the White Dragon Emperor's armor. In response, my powers noticeably dipped. Did he just have my energy? Was that why he hit me a moment ago?
Boost.
Nonetheless, I activated my own Sacred Gear in response, returning back to my original state.
You may have just restored your power, partner, but the Vanishing Dragon's other ability are where we're gonna run into trouble.
What's that supposed to mean, Ddraig?
Whenever he halves your power, he adds what he takes from you to himself. And boosting can't restore your stamina, only your dragon powers.
So, even if I manage to bounce back, he's just gonna keep getting stronger?
Exactly. But no matter how impressive the host, there is always a limit. When his accumulated power goes beyond that level, he remains at his limit and releases the excess from the wings on his back.
Did that mean that he could stay at his peak without overloading and destroying himself? Vali, looking like he was having fun, unleashed a seemingly endless volley of projectiles my way. There was no hope of dodging them. Any one of those blasts would mean a major wound. At best, one hit would leave me bruises all over. I needed to strike back at him somehow. I couldn't let him get away with threatening my parents. Vali continued to rail against me. Your attacks are so dull. All you do is keep plunging in. There's no point to them. Talk about wasted potential. You don't have a clue on how to use your abilities. Oh, is that right? I'm clueless, am I? I already knew that. At this rate, the rivalry between the White Dragon Emperor and the Red Dragon Emperor will. But before Vali could even finish talking, I activated the propulsion unit in my armor and accelerated at full speed, straight into the barrage of shots. His projectiles ricocheted off my body. Believe me, they hurt. But that was fine. All I needed was one hit. I clenched my left hand, focusing my power on Ascalon. That was all I needed. Defending was pointless, so I disregarded that. Vali's energy blast buffeted my scale mail, cracking and chipping it here and there. My helmet protecting my face was hit as well, smashing a hole in my mask. Are you trying to ram me? You're a fool. What do you expect that to... Vali deployed what looked like a type-based shield in an attempt to protect himself, however. Ddraig, transfer my power to Ascalon.
Understood. Transfer.
A wave of incredible force surged on my arm. That was fine. I didn't know how to use the sword properly anyway. Instead of anything clever, I simply threw everything I had into the gauntlet that now housed my new weapon. Even I knew how to punch a guy. My fist punched clean through Vali's shield and crashed with a powerful blow into his face. He must have not been expecting the attack to make contact, as the impact sent him bending over backwards. Fissures erupted all over the masked part of the White Dragon Emperor's helmet. Vali's face peeked through as the visor fell away. Now's my chance. I reached around to the back of Vali's armor suit, to the area below his light wings, where he vented all of his excess power. I hear your sacred gear needs this part to work, so how's this?
Transfer.
I poured my power in excess into the White Dragon Emperor's armor. Instantly, my body felt like lead. I must have exhausted my physical strength and my demon powers, but that didn't matter. Let's see you absorb this much energy. I'm guessing you won't be able to get rid of it all. The jewels embedded into the White Dragon Emperor's armor lit up in a chaotic mix of white, red, blue, and yellow. All at once, the dragon power that had been fueling him dissipated. I had succeeded in using Vali's own sacred gear against him. Its ability allowed Vali to absorb his opponent's power and repurpose it for himself. However, there was a limit to how much he could steal, and anything beyond that limit was automatically ejected through those wings of light. After Ddraig had explained as much to me, I wondered what might happen if I channeled my power through his input and output vents at the same time. He would not only be absorbing more energy than he could handle, but he would also be unable to discard the excess. The result was that his armor would undergo a forced shutdown.
How could they? Vali, ready yourself.
Vali crossed his arm in response to Albion's warning, but not before. I hurled my left fist in the power Ascalon forward, effortlessly breaking through Vali's guard and delivering a heavy blow straight to his abdomen. The White Dragon Emperor's armor shattered with a glittering flash. Is this what the dragon-slaying weapon is capable of? Vali's suit got shredded like paper. Vali spat out blood. He staggered backwards, grasping his stomach, before letting out a joyful laugh. Yet more blood trickled down the corner of his mouth. This is awesome. You destroyed my sacred gear, so you can fight. In that case, rival of mine. I drove another punch straight into his face. You're about the only person I don't feel bad hitting. Alright, I had struck back at him for making fun of my parents. Ddraig, however, made a disapproving noise. My unnecessary lashing out had allowed Vali the time to restore his armor. Seriously, it literally reassembled itself. How many times was I going to have to destroy this thing?
This contest won't end until one host or the other is incapable of fighting. You can't keep going on like this. You won't get anywhere. You won't have an easy time bringing him down before your balance breaker runs out of time. Your best bet would be to run, but I'm guessing that's not an option for you.
Of course not. I wasn't going to abandon the Prez. Besides, there was no way out of the barrier that surrounded the school.
Then what are you going to do? There still remains a considerable gulf between your potential and his. Thanks to that control unit Azazel gave you, you've been able to close the distance a fraction, but that time limit ensures your defeat.
Ddraig was right. What can I do? At that moment, I spied a certain something from the corner of my eyes. An unusual idea sprang to my mind. It was a weird one, but it was worth a try. In any event, I would lose if I ran out of time, so I had to do something before then. Hey Ddraig, Sacred Gears respond to the user's thoughts, right?
Yeah, I explained that. What of it?
I picked up the object rolling towards my feet, one of the jewels of the White Dragon Emperor's armor. It had come flying out when I damaged him earlier. The destroyed section of the armor, jewel included, looked like it had self-repaired. The jewel would just disintegrate into ash before too long. That was why, as Vali was concerned, it wasn't for any consequence. However, it should, I reasoned, still possess at least a small amount of the White Dragon Emperor's powers. I'm going to picture a visual image of something. Make it real, Ddraig. I channeled the vision in my mind's eye to the dragon, as detailed and strong as I could render it. If I could pull this off, then...
Those are some dangerous thoughts, partner. but interesting ones. This might kill you, but are you ready to try?
I'm not gonna die. I still haven't taken the Prez's virginity. It may hurt, but if this is what it takes to overcome that bastard, I'll manage.
I like your determination. In that case, let's give it a shot. This may be madness, but I am the Red Dragon Emperor, a mighty force to be reckoned with. We'll beat this guy together, partner. No. Issei Hyodo.
Yeah. What are you planning? Vali demanded with genuine curiosity. White Dragon Emperor, Albion, Vali, I'm taking your power. With that, I cracked open the gemstone of the Red Dragon Emperor on the back of my hand, and then crushed it into the jewel of the Vanishing Dragon that I had picked up a moment ago. I'll absorb your power right into my sacred gear. While slugging Vali, I had remembered something from the battle with Kogibil the other day. Kiba managed to create a stable fusion between holy and demonic powers. A silvery white aura emanated from my right hand, enveloping my body. Was this the result of the gemstone? Had it worked? I felt a sudden pulse within me, as an indescribable intense pain swept from my right hand into my whole body. Damn, that hurts. What the hell is this? Intense agony gripped every inch of me. Ow, 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 ow. Even being skewered by the spears of light had been nothing compared to this. You're trying to absorb my abilities? Vali looked truly astonished by my course of action.
How reckless. We are opposites, Ddraig. In every sense. Do you intend to annihilate yourself?
Albion asked with apparent indifference.
Oh.
Ddraig roared in agony. So the Dragon Emperor who dwelled in my sacred gear is sharing this suffering too? Surprisingly, there was also mirth and laughter mixed into the anguished cry.
Albion, you're as thick-headed as ever. We've dwelled in human vessels for an eternity. We've used them to fight our war time and time again. And it's always the same thing. Indeed, Ddraig. That is our destiny. We may change hosts, but our means of battle is eternal. You increase your host power, and I give it to mine. The host with the greatest level of control over the sacred gears delivers the finishing blow. That is how it always has been, and how it always will be.
Though I couldn't see him, I could feel Ddraig breaking into a wry grin at Albion's response.
I've learned something since meeting this one. Since meeting Issei Hyodo. Anything is possible if you're foolish enough to push through.
I was okay with foolishness. If I couldn't win through talent or ability, I could make it to the end through raw, thick-headed stupidity. Answer my call, Ddraig!
Vanishing Dragon power taken.
My right hand exploded in a brilliant burst of light. A pure white aura enveloped my arm, and then a white gauntlet surrounded my right arm. So this is the dividing gear. Cool as it was, being garbed in a suit of red armor with a snow-white gauntlet looked pretty awkward.
Impossible. That can't be done.
Albion's voice exclaimed. No, it is possible, just unlikely. A friend of mine managed to fuse holy and demon powers to make a holy demon sword. Apparently, thanks to the fact that the equilibrium between the two forces came to an end with God's death. Anyway, to borrow some higher-ups' words, it's basically just a programming bug or a system error, right? I took advantage of that.
Are you saying that you used the flaws in the Sacred Gear system itself to pull that off? But that shouldn't be. It's one thing to imagine it, but actually trying to do it is beyond foolhardily. There's no telling what might happen if you fuse two opposing energies, and dragon powers no less. You realize you could have killed yourself. That had to be the most likely outcome by far.
Albion clearly found what I had done to be hard to swallow. Admittedly, even I understood it was reckless. Yeah, it's a crazy thing to do, but I'm still alive. Ddraig let out a resigned sigh.
You have certainly shortened your lifespan. No matter how long-lived demons might be, now that you've done that, you'll...
I'm not interested in living for 10,000 years, or whatever's normal for demons. But I've got a lot to do, so I would like to hang around for at least 1,000. I answered. Vali was applauding me. Interesting. In that case, I'm going to get serious too. If I win, how about I use my White Dragon Emperor power to have you and everything around you? He said, floating up into the air and spreading his arms wide. The glowing wings likewise ballooned in size. Have? What's that supposed to mean? You're not talking about my powers, are you? Isn't ignorance terrifying? You meet your end without ever learning the answer. He laughed. The way he kept treating me like an absolute idiot was really getting on my nerves.
Half dimension,
Echoed the voice from the gemstone in the White Dragon Emperor's armor as a dazzling aura enveloped him. Vali pointed his arm at the trees below. They instantly shrank in half of their original size. Whoa, so he was being literal when he meant that he would be having everything. Not only that, but the space beyond the trees looked like it was being compressed to half its original size. Quit ruining the scenery around the old school building. Red Dragon Emperor, Issei Hyoto, let me put it in a way that you would comprehend. As Zazel began appearing beside me. Oh, the governor of the fallen angels? Please keep it simple. The power divides everything around him in half, meaning that if he was serious, Rias Gremory's bust line could also be reduced. What? My mind was racing, turning over one wordless question after another. Azazel's words may as well have been in another language. They were antithetical to my entire worldview. I didn't want to comprehend them. But suddenly, a seething, violent rage exploded from the depths of my chest. Her breasts could be halved. The princess' breasts could be halved. I craned my neck mechanically towards Rias. Seeing my expression, she shuddered in fear. Ah, the princess' chest. Those wonderful, fantastic breasts that I so adored. They're my world. And he's going to shrink them? The princess' boobs? Don't. Yeah, that settled it. Don't you even dare! I was going to crush Vali, absolutely demolish him. You bastard! I won't let you! You're not touching the princess' breasts! Vali!
Boost, 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 boost.
The gemstones embedded in my armor start echoing the same words repeatedly. I won't let you! You're pure evil! I'll never forgive this! I'm going to destroy you! I'm going to make you wish you were never born! Vali!
Boost, 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 boost.
My surroundings exploded around me. The ground that I was standing on burst upwards in a massive crater. All the windows of the old school building suddenly shattered, the walls crumbling. My entire body was at the center of the roaring vortex of unprecedented energy. You got to be kidding me. This fight's hilarious. His powers increased that much just to keep his master's breast from getting smaller. As Zazel exploded into guffaws. Quit it. This is no laughing matter. To me, this is more important than the balance between heaven and earth. This was a crisis, the most urgent in the world. What that bastard was trying to do was unforgivable. Have the princess' breasts? Never. Those tits were mine. I still haven't rubbed them with my heart's content. I still hadn't sucked them. I still hadn't grasped them between my fingers. Don't rob me of my dreams, you asshole. I knew now that Vali and I would never see eye to eye. My most heartfelt desire was to double the princess' bust size, while all he wanted to do was reduce it. I pointed my finger directly at Vali, the momentum of the gesture mowing down the trees behind him. Don't you dare lay a hand on Rias Gremory. I'll destroy you so hard you won't even have a chance of reincarnation, you dividing psychopath. Prepare to die. My cry was enough to rend the clouds up above, exposing the moon behind them. Today is full of surprises, but at least it isn't boring. The idea that a woman's breast could unleash such explosive power. The White Dragon Emperor soared towards me, but not fast enough. I moved out of the way and delivered a powerful kick to his side as he flew past. You're fast. Has your speed surpassed mine? How would I know? Maybe I was swifter. And it was all psychological. It didn't matter. I was going to win. Vali's success meant that the loss of the presents in Akino's chests. Just thinking about it made me shudder in terror. Not even God would forgive anyone for defiling such a wonderful breast. Though Vali tried to escape at high speed, I effortlessly grabbed a hold of him and... This is for the Prez's boobs. Delivered a powerful punch right in his gut. In the back of my mind, those breasts were bouncing up and down.
Divide.
At the same moment, I activated my newly transplanted White Dragon Emperor ability and reduced Vali's strength considerably. He coughed up blood, yet I wasn't finished. And this is for Akino's breasts. The second punch straight to the face. Now his helmet was completely broken. This time, it had been Akino's breasts that flashed before my eyes. And this one's for Azia's still maturing ones. Next, I imagined how large Azia's breast had yet to grow. I crushed the exhaust nozzles on the back of Vali's suit, things that projected his wings. And Zenovia's too. Then I kicked him up in the air with that titanic force, as if rejoiced in Zenovia's bust. And lastly, this is for Konako's petite chest, which would be completely erased if you dared to have it. I tackled Vali at breakneck speed, as I wept over what he might do to Konako. Vali spewed up a mouthful of blood. Served him right. He slammed hard onto the ground. His anger not yet abated, I walked over to that bastard. Konako already has a complex of the size of her chest. You monster. And you're thinking about cutting it in half? Unforgivable. Don't you dare take your breast away from her. Do you understand what you'll be doing to her, you halving lunatic? Nothing would soothe my rage. I felt like hitting him all over again. Faced with my indignation, Vali curiously broke into a joyful grin. Interesting. This is incredible. Damn this guy.
Vali, I finished analyzing his dividing ability. If you adjust your own limiting ability, you should be able to defend against it.
I see. That doesn't sound so bad. Seriously? So my attack won't work anymore? After all the pain unlocking it was? Albion, do you think Issei Hyodo is worth using the Juggernaut drive against in his present state?
Vali, that would be unwise at this time. If you activate that without the proper precautions, you might lift the curse placed upon Ddraig.
It'll be fine, Albion. It is time for I, who has awakened, to embrace the supreme law. What on earth is this bastard muttering about now?
Restrain yourself, Vali. Do you really want to find yourself at the mercy of my power?
Was Albion angry? I didn't know what was going on, but I had to take my rival down before he could launch whatever the new attack was. I readied myself to deliver the finishing blow when a shadow swooped down from the night sky, with the moon to its back, swiftly putting itself between Vali and I. It was another figure in armor, though this suit looked like something a commander in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms video game series would don. The young man sporting the armor had a handsome face. Vali, I've come for you, he stated. My rival rose to his feet, wiping the blood from his mouth with the back of his hand. Biko, what are you doing here? Don't be mean. When I heard that my valued partner was in a pinch, I came all the way to this lonely island country. Everyone over at the HQ was all up in arms, you know. We'll be finding the Northern Bumpkin gods soon, so why don't you come back once your mission has failed? Katara failed in her plan to annihilate Michael, Azazel, and Lucifer, didn't she? Your job as an observer is over, so how about we go home? I see. So, it's already time. Just what were these two talking about? Who are you? I demanded, pointing straight at the newcomer. Azazel was the one to answer me. That's Biko, a descendant of the victorious fighting Buddha. Say what now? I've never heard of either of those names before.
He's that damn monkey from the Journey of the West. But I guess I should explain more simply. He's Sun Wukong.
Huh? Huh? Sun Wukong? I was so taken aback that I completely forgot how enraged I had been just a second ago. I mean, this was the famous hero from the ancient tale.
Strictly speaking, he's a monkey spirit who has inherited Sun Wukong's powers. Regardless, I never have assumed him to ally with the Chaos Brigade. The Vanishing Dragon and Sun Wukong. The pair must make for an excellent team.
The monkey guy snickered at Azazel's explanation. I'm not like my ancestor, the one who elevated to Buddhahood. My life is my own. I'll take it however I like. Call me Biko. Nice to meet you, Red Dragon Emperor, he said lightly. A long pole appeared in his hand. He spun it around his head a few times before stabbing it downward. In response, a black wave of darkness spread over the ground, seizing Biko and Vali and dragging them in. They were trying to escape. Damn it, I'm not finished beating Vali's lesson into him. Wait, stop. I moved to prevent them from fleeing, but... my sacred gear deactivated. My armor dissipated, and the bracelet I was wearing crumbled away. My balance breaker was sealed all over again. Zazel, don't you have another one of those bracelets? I can't let them escape, I insisted. Do you realize how much work creating just one required? I can't mass produce them. And even if I could, the more you use them, the harder it will be to unlock your true balance breaker later. They should only be used in emergencies. Wasn't this an emergency? That bastard had made a complete fool of me. Not to mention his threats. As if I was just gonna let him off. All of a sudden, I was seized by intense weariness. I couldn't even feel my legs or clench my fists. Unleashing that much power, even for a moment, was bound to leave you enervated. You didn't have much of a reserve to begin with, so you aren't capable of fighting for an extended period of time, Seizo explained. But Vali had his armor the whole time. I suppose that demonstrated how considerable the distance between our skills was. Even if I could temporarily surpass him, it meant nothing if I couldn't maintain the lead until I won. I'm not just the White Dragon Emperor. I also possess the blood of a former Demon King. I'm a busy man. I have far more enemies than just the angels, fallen angels, and demons. We'll fight again one day, rival of mine. Let's both get stronger. Then, in mid-sentence, Vali disappeared into the darkness with Sun Wukong. By the time we returned to the school grounds, the three factions' armies had already passed through the barrier. They were dealing with the aftermath of the battle, disposing the dead magicians' corpses and restoring the campus from damage. In the center of the schoolyard, Sir Zex, Seraphal Leviathan, and Michael were giving orders to their subordinates. When Sir Zex caught the sight of us, he raised his hand in greeting.
Thank goodness you're all alright. What happened to you, Azazel?
He asked, pointing to the stump where his left arm had been, before gesturing to Azia. Azia quickly activated her sacred gear, moving to heal him. Her Twilight Healing's pale green light engulfed the wound, yet she couldn't restore the lost limb.
Katsura caught me in a self-destruction snare. I had to cut it off to get away. I see. Her grievance was with us demons, not you. And that wound...
Sir Zex looked like he wanted to say something to make amends, but Azazel waved the man's concerns away.
I'm at fault here too. For Vali. He betrayed you? He was only ever interested in power. With hindsight, it's easy to see that it would always wound up like this. But it's my fault I didn't stop him sooner.
Azazel's gaze looked somehow forlorn. Had he perhaps looked fondly on Vali? Michael approached the two leaders. Now then, I need to return to heaven to prepare countermeasures against the Chaos Brigade.
I'm sorry things turned out the way they did. I and my people were responsible for the venue of these talks.
There's no need to feel responsible for any of this, Sir Zex. I'm just glad that our three factions have started on the road to peace. This should help reduce the numbers of fruitless quarrels between our people, wouldn't you say?
Well,
We'll probably lose more than a few underlings who refuse to accept the new status quo. Azazel remarked cynically. That was always going to be the inevitable. We've despised each other for so long over the years, but from now on, that will change, if gradually. Our next challenge seems likely to be the Chaos Brigade, Michael said. Then let's deal with them together, Sir Zach suggested, and Azazel and Michael nodded in agreement. I'd best be off then. I will be back as soon as possible, so we could settle on a formal treaty. The Archangel moved to leave. Michael, I called out, knowing full well what I was addressing was beyond my station. What is it, Red Dragon Emperor? There's something I wanted to ask you. Very well. We are short on time, so make it quick. I had a wish, something I needed to put to him no matter the cost. It's because of God's system that Ozzy and Zenobia suffer damage when they pray, right? The two of them were true believers. Every now and then, they would fall back into their old habits and pray to God, only to be hurt by their efforts. Yes, whenever a demon or a fallen angel prays to the Lord, the system deals them light damage to dissuade them. That is built on how the system works. It continues to apply even without the Lord to manage it. Why do you ask? Can you change it so that Ozzy and Zenobia don't get hurt when they pray? That was my wish. I always found it somewhat amusing whenever they tried to invoke the Lord's name. But I still wanted to let them pray in safety. They might have been demons, but they were still free to believe in God whenever they wanted, right? Michael wore a look of surprise at the request. I guess he hadn't been expecting that. Ozzy and Zenobia, standing either side of me, were startled as well. Michael, however, gave us a small smile, nodding. I understand. We might be able to manage it for 2 people. You're both already demons, and I don't suppose you two intend on dealing with the church again. I'll see what I can do. However, I have questions of my own. Ozzy, Zenobia, you are both aware that the Lord no longer is with us, and you still wish to pray to him? The pair nodded. Yeah, I still want to pray to him, even if he isn't here, Ozzy replied. I feel the same. I'll give thanks to the Lord, and to you, Michael, as well, Zenobia added. Michael smiled at these responses. Very well. I will see to it as soon as I return to the headquarters. It would be nice to have at least 2 demons who can pray without receiving damage. It would certainly be an interesting development. Now Ozzy can pray without any problems, even if he isn't listening. Ozzy embraced me with a warm hug, her eyes glistening. Issei. I squeezed her back. I was so happy for her. Silently, I promised that I would keep doing everything I could to help her. Thank you, Issei, Zenobia said. I patted her and Ozzy on the head. You're welcome. Now you can pray as much as you like. Was it my imagination, or did Zenobia just blush? Lord Michael, thank you for hearing me out, Kiba called. Had he made a request of the Archangel as well? After hearing your account, I swear on the holy demon sword that you presented us with that the Holy Church would no longer abuse any children in its research on holy swords. It was a gross mistake to disregard such valuable members of our congregation. Whoa, Michael. The Archangel was willing to take care of that too? And when did Kiba have a chance to talk to him about it? That's great, Kiba. Yeah, thank you, Issei. Watching our exchange, Azazel suddenly turned to Michael and said, I'll let you be the one to explain this to the Valhalla guys. Odin might not like it if I try to reach out to him. You'll have to let those at Mount Miro know as well. I don't suppose that would be particularly persuasive, coming from the governor of the fallen angels, or from one of the demon kings now, would it? I'll convey the news. I'm used to delivering reports to the Lord, so it won't be that much different. His business concluded, Michael took off into the heavens with his forces. Azazel turned to address his own army. I've chosen peace. We fallen angels aren't fighting the forces of heaven or the underworld anymore. Any of you who are dissatisfied with my decision may leave, but remember this. I'll kill you without hesitation if I ever see you again. Those who will obey me can follow me. We offer ourselves to you until the hour of our demise, Governor Azazel." His subordinates roared in loyalty. Seeing this display of devotion, the governor looked grateful. Talk about a charismatic leader. Having received their orders, Azazel's troops deployed a myriad of magic circles and promptly departed. The demon army was similarly preparing to go home. The school grounds, which had been crowded with demons, angels, and fallen angels alike just a moment ago, gradually emptied. Before long, only a small number of us had remained. Azazel, the only fallen angel with us, let out a deep sigh and turned to the school gate. "I'll leave the rest to you, Sir Zex. I'm going home. I'm exhausted." He waved his hand and stopped, pointing at me. "Right. Mr. Red Dragon Emperor. I'll be in the neighborhood for a while, so I hope you take care of Rias Gremmery's bishop. Got it? If there's one thing I can't stand to see, it's a sacred gear being put to waste." "Uh-huh," I answered blankly. What was that just now? "For the red, it's women. For the white, power. You're both shockingly single-minded," Azazel said before taking his leave, whistling. At the time, I assumed that he'd just been joking. July 20XX. The Archangel Michael representing heaven, Governor Azazel of the head fallen angel organization Grigory, and the Demon King Sir Zex Lucifer representing the underworld. As emissaries for the three great powers, each put their names to the peace accord. From that point, violent conflict between the three great powers was outlawed, and a framework of cooperation was established. This agreement took the name of the school where it was adopted, becoming known as the Kuo Treaty. "I'll be advising the Occult Research Club starting today. Call me Mr. Azazel, or maybe Governor would be better." The fallen angel in question was standing in the club room dressed in a worn-out suit. "But why are you here?" the Prez asked, perplexed, resting one hand on her forehead. "Ha! Seraph's little sister gave me the job. Well, who can blame her? A super smart, super handsome guy like me. Looks like I'll be able to have my fill of all the lovely lady students here too." "You can't do that. I mean, why would Sona allow that?" "You're a stubborn one, Rias Gremmery. Well, I asked Sir Zex, and he told me to bring it up with Seraph's sister, and so here I am." "That's why he's our advisor? What is the chairwoman thinking?" "What about your arm? I thought you lost it," I inquired. As I recalled, he cut it off during battle. This is a prosthetic I made with knowledge from my sacred gear research. Looks just like the original, huh? It's got all kinds of functions. Laser beams, miniature missiles, you name it. I've always wanted to try one of these things. I decided to set myself up with one to accommodate my lost arm." Azazel's, our advisor's, left arm suddenly detached from his body and started spiraling through the air. Whoa, so it's fully mechanical? "The only condition of my staying here is I'm supposed to help the members of Rias Gremmery's familia properly develop their sacred gears. I guess it helps to have a healthy obsession, eh? Anyway, you know about the Chaos Brigade now. The Welsh Dragon and the rest of you have earned a name for yourselves as future deterrents against them. And I've got special knowledge about the Vanishing Dragon. Based on the information I gleaned, I know that Vali got his own team. We're calling it the White Dragon Emperor Familia for now. Unfortunately, the only members that we know of at the present are Vali and Sun Wukong." "So Vali and his people are going to attack us again?" I asked. The governor shook his head. "I doubt it. It isn't every day that you get the chance to knock off the leaders of the three great factions at a major conference. And they failed. They'll have their hands full with heaven and underworld for a while. I've ordered all fallen angels under my command to join forces with you demons, so the underworld won't fall easily. Those seraphs up in heaven won't sit idly either. Plus, there's all those monsters and who knows what lurking up in heaven too. So it's war? I questioned, almost too afraid to hear Azazel's answer. Nah, these are just skirmishes. They're basically still getting ready, probing our weaknesses. At the earliest, I'd say the real conflict won't break out until you graduated from college. So enjoy your lives as students. However, remember that you'll all be having to get ready for what's coming too. Yeah. I tilted my head, trying to think of something to say, but nothing came to mind. Don't think too hard of it, Mr. Red Dragon Emperor. You don't have the brains for it, so you won't get anywhere. Just remember that your enemy is Vali, the White Dragon Emperor. Right, my enemy. I would have to keep that in mind. He had made fools out of us all, and the way that he kept belittling me, I swore I'd beat the daylights out of him the next time we met. You were only able to hold him off because you combined that dragon-slaying sword that you got from Michael with your boosted gear. And Vali didn't go all out either. If he had, you would have most assuredly lost. Basically, you got lucky. If you had faced someone with his strength who wasn't a dragon, you'd be dead. Much as it pained me to admit it, Azazel was right. It was only because of the dragon-slaying sword that I've been able to do anything against Vali. So, can you still use the White Dragon Emperor's abilities? He asked. No, not at all, I replied. Though it had been a horrible idea to acquire it, I couldn't get the Vanishing Dragon's power to work anymore. Maybe it was a one and done? I thought so. You can't handle something that mighty without practice. Having other dragon abilities at your disposal would be unquestionably useful, but whether you can successfully call upon the strength is another question entirely. If you don't know what you're doing, it might be even harder than summoning your balance breaker. Make no mistake though, now that you absorb that power, it should be engraved into Ddraig's soul. The rest all depends on your training. I'm going to put you through hell, and it won't be quick either. If you try to rush it, you'll end up killing yourself. Sorry I'm so pathetic, Governor. Even after everything I went through to seal Albion's abilities, they still weren't any good to me. I guess it wasn't surprising. I couldn't even use Ddraig's skills properly yet. Your Red Dragon Emperor power is too unstable. It has enormous destructive potential, but only for a limited duration. If you're fighting a low-ranking opponent, maybe you could take them out before your time's up, but a more skilled enemy will wipe the floor with you. If you're going to be playing the raiding game, you'll need to work out how to manage it. The first step would be unlocking your balance breaker. That said, raiding games aren't straightforward affairs. Sometimes, a pawn that needed only one piece to reincarnate can take down a king. It all depends on how you fight. So, I'll school you in that as well. Sounds like you know a lot about the raiding game. Demons aren't its only fans. With peace settling in, I'm guessing a lot of angels and fallen angels will take interest in it. If that was true, it would seem only like a matter of time until some of them wanted to join in. Anyway, we've got to build up your strength so you can stay on your feet for the long haul. Yeah, Azazel was right. In their current state, my powers are only temporary. If I was going to be worth anything in future raiding games, I would need to be able to fight for more than a few minutes. I would need to be able to hold on to my power for as long as possible. Yet, would I really be able to unlock my balance breaker? Maybe it was because both times I used it had been via methods other than the proper one, but I couldn't imagine myself reaching it alone. I was just too weak. I was a former human. Vali had the blood of a demon king, and our natural skills reflected our respective backgrounds. Can I really get stronger? I asked. It was a straightforward question. Did I have any hope of reaching that point? I'll make sure you do, Azazel answered with a mischievous grin. I'm a fallen angel with too much free time. I guess I would have to just trust him. Well, it would all depend on my training from here on out. I pointed at Gasper. If we were attacked again, can't we do something with Gasper's time-stopping ability? Issei, what are you doing? Gasper wailed at my suggestion. It's a mistake to rely solely on him. We don't know the kind of people that the Chaos Brigade has at their disposal. Oh, that stung. I suppose Vali had said that Gasper's sacred gear was riddled with weaknesses too. I'm sorry I can't do anything. I'm never any help. I'm garbage, pig feed. I'm a failure. A shadow on the bottom of the ocean trying to reach up to Mount Everest. Don't forget about training me. Gasper cried as he crept back into his cardboard box. Hey, I thought we had grown out of that. Right, you with the holy demon sword. How long can you keep your balance breaker up? Azazel asked Akiba. In my current state, my limit is around an hour. That's no good. At the very least, you'll want to aim for around 3 days. Whoa, that sounds rough. Kiba looked undaunted, however. It can last around 10 seconds, with a few other conditions, I admitted timidly. The governor closed his eyes. We'll have to start over from scratch with you. The White Dragon Emperor can maintain his balance breaker for a month. That's how different you two are. A month. Vali had never seemed so far beyond me. Still, the clearer the target, the better. Next, Azazel turned his gaze to Akano. And you, do you still hate us? Or Barkio, I guess. That's her father's name, right? He would have been Azazel's subordinate. Akano's expression was stern. I have no intention of forgiving him. It's his fault my mother died. Akano, he said nothing when you became a demon, Azazel remarked. Of course not. He is in no position to say anything to me. That isn't what I meant. But I guess it isn't my place to get between a father and his kid. I don't see him as a father, Akano clarified. I see. Well, it's not like I think there was anything wrong with joining Rias Gremling's familia here. But I wonder what he thinks. Akano had nothing to say in response to this. Simply falling silent, her expression conflicted. Azazel glanced back to me. Hey, Mr. Red Dragon Emperor. Or Issei, okay? Issei, your dream is to build a harem, right? Yeah. Indeed, a harem was my ultimate goal, my lifelong dream. Unfortunately, that vision seemed to be growing farther and farther away. I mean, I had discovered that I was utterly incompetent when it came to girls. Maybe I'll give you a few pointers. You can learn a thing or two from someone who had hundreds of harems of his own. It won't hurt to listen. Governor? Seriously? You're not joking? Yeah, seriously. You're a virgin, right? Yeah. Alright, I'll teach you about women too then. You better find some sexy beauty to hook up with and earn your manhood. So that you know, the reason I fell from the grace up in heaven was that I've been fondling the breasts of too many human women. Don't compromise when it comes to sex. You can fall from heaven for something like that? Huh? Seriously? The press flashed me a disgusted look, nodding. It's true. According to the legend, the Grigory leaders were tempted by human women and were cast out of heaven for giving them knowledge that they shouldn't have. Azazel broke into a hearty laugh. We were young then, proudly flaunting our virginity, blindly proclaiming God's greatness to the world. We lost ourselves to temptation and, in the end, pleasured ourselves with more women than you could ever count, and were punished for it. Incredible. So the fallen angel leaders were all sex-obsessed perverts. I'm starting to think I have the wrong idea about you all, I said. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a man, you gotta follow your desires. Devour as many women as you can. The more, the better. That's the path of boosting your confidence and strength. I'll make sure you'll leave your virginity behind. How about I introduce you to a few fallen angel girls for my subordinates? I'm sure they'll be happy to sleep with a legendary dragon. Fallen angel beauties? Suddenly, the image of Rhaenyra came to my mind. No, things are different now. There's a treaty. At least, that's what I wanted to think. But was I really willing to risk going through that all again? Whoa, seriously? You'll help me graduate? I'm ready to learn, Mr. Azazel. Right, he was my teacher now, Mr. Azazel. The greatest of all teachers, who would school me in sacred gears and women. This was the instructor that I've been waiting for all my life. Got it. Then we'll start with your virginity graduation tour. What about a miraculous excursion? It sounds awesome. A whole lot more appetizing than those all-you-can-eat crab tours you sometimes see in fancy restaurants. I don't mind if there's an annual fee. I'll pay for it all. So please let me join that tour for all time. At seeing my eyes light up, the prez immediately grew flustered. Hold on a minute, Azazel. Don't fill his head with strange ideas. What? The prez embraced me, as if to keep me away from the fallen angel. What's the problem? It's perfectly healthy for a kid his age to learn the ropes with one or two women. Or don't you want your servant learning how to please a lady? Issei's chastity is mine. I'll decide who takes it. Issei, promising to protect someone else's virginity while throwing your own away. Seriously? The prez is in charge of my virginity? Issei, are you going to leave me behind? Azia? Has she misunderstood what this kind of tour was? I would always be with her. Oh dear, I'll be lonely if you go out without me, Issei. Akano, please don't look so depressed. You'll make me feel guilty. You're the worst, Issei. Sorry, Konako. Actually, she wasn't angry. She was laughing. If the president is in charge of his chastity, it won't be easy to make a child. Zenobia looked legitimately perplexed. You're so popular, Issei. If I weren't to shun in, I'd wish I could be like you, Gasper admitted. Looks like you won't be able to complain about me anymore, Issei, Kiba remarked. Casper, it's time for you to grow out of that cardboard box, and pretty boys should shut their mouths. Haha, what's this? I see. I should have known. Dragons naturally develop polygamous relationships. Looks like you don't need me to teach you anything. In a way, I suppose this makes for a good representation of three-way alliance. The governor of the fallen angels, the sister of a demon king, backup from heaven, and a legendary dragon. Let's all get along now, got it? Our first objective is to properly unlock the Red Dragon Emperor's balance breaker, and get the rest of you up to scratch. That's how you should spend your summer break training. Summer break? Now that I thought about it, I realized that the first semester was nearly finished. In any event, it was frightening to think how easily the governor of the fallen angels had joined us. Up until recently, he had been the leader of an enemy organization. I guess the future wasn't looking too bad. We will all get stronger, the prez said. It never hurts. Azazel nodded in agreement. So I heard there's going to be a meetup with a whole bunch of young demons in a few days. And Rias Gremory is one of the promising day beauties. Yes, it's a gathering of the old and noble families. There should be several young demons attending. It's a tradition of sorts, confirmed the prez. Is it really okay thinking about raiding games so soon after a terrorist attack? I asked. I mean, we weren't in the middle of a large-scale operation. On the contrary, I recommend it, Azazel answered. A few raiding games will be a good way for you to do something about your lack of experience. There are all sorts of reincarnated demons, former humans, fallen angels, beasts, and who knows what else. I'm sure you won't have any trouble dealing with them, though. There's a huge variety of battlefields and more fighting styles than you could imagine. What better practice could there be? And this may come as a surprise to you, but Sir Zex came up with the raiding games concept with the current situation in mind. By having demons compete against one another, they're continuously polishing their skills and abilities. You were all so eager to prove yourselves that every one of you fell for it. Pretty clever of your demon kings, eh? I didn't really get it all, but Azazel was essentially saying that duking out in raiding games was a good way to train before having to fight the terrorists again. I had to agree that being thrown into battle without any real practice wasn't incredibly appealing. Don't worry, I'll make sure you have the tools for the trade. I'll draw how to use that secret gear into you if I have to. I'm planning on running some matches during the summer camp as well. Raiding game style. I've already talked to Sir Zex about it. Azazel was raring to go. His anticipation was undeniable. The boosted gear on the verge of unknown evolution. And the Holy Demon Sword. Not to mention the Forbidden Valor View. I'll teach you everything I learned. And see how far we can push those sacred gears. Whoa. Azazel suddenly broke into a scary laugh. Were we all just guinea pigs to him? The future looked challenging and uncertain. Just what was to become of Kuo Academy and the Cult Research Club? Kuo Academy, end of first semester. Kuo Academy High School, Occult Research Club. Advising teacher, Azazel. Fallen Angel Governor. President, Rias Gremory, King. Third year, remaining pieces, 1 rook. Vice President, Akano Himajima, Queen. Third year. Club members, Koneko Tojo, Rook, first year. Yuto Kiba, Knight, second year. Zenobia, Knight, second year. Azia Argento, Bishop, second year. Gasper Vladi, Bishop, first year. Issei Hyoto, Pawn, second year. Sorry we couldn't meet face to face, Shemhazai. Anyway, that's why I've been hanging around here for a while. Understood, but Azazel, some of our subordinates don't look kindly upon this peace agreement. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Besides, it's you I'm worried about. Your kids do soon, right? Azazel, I... Take care of that wife of yours. She's a good woman. She's followed you this far. Even though she might end up being killed for it, your child will be the bridge between fallen angels and demons. I was prepared to shoulder the hatred, but I never meant for you to take the blame too. Don't cry, old friend. I'm used to being hated. Leave the issue with Akano to me. These 12 wings of mine can bear it. So just shut up and follow my lead, Shemhazai. Yes, master. Valhalla. And that concludes Lord Michael's report, Lord Odin. Those striplings sure are running amok, pretending to be God, Michael. The gall of it. How should we respond? I would never have expected the biblical God to meet his demise. To think that an imposter, Michael, the false Lucifer, and the upstart Azazel are all planning a tea party. Shall we, Azir? Show those miscreants what a true God looks like? I'm too old to get involved with ward-spanning worlds, Freyr, but I am intrigued by the dedication of those youngsters. Perhaps we should observe this raiding game that the demons are running. It does sound fun. Continuing without a creator, I'm curious to see what they might do next. It was the day before summer vacation, meaning closing ceremonies for the semester just concluded. Hello. Yo, thanks for letting us stay here. Akano and Zenobia just arrived at my house with a large load of luggage. No sooner did Akano spot me, than she caught me in a wide-armed embrace. Issei. Whoa, too sudden. I can finally be by your side now, Issei. Don't stare at me with those glistening eyes, Akano. My heart was racing. Akano and Zenobia are going to be living here from now on. It was my brother's suggestion. I'll call Koneko later, the Prez murmured, as if vaguely displeased by the situation. Apparently, Sir Zex had proposed that we all live under the same roof to foster closeness in our familia. Skinship, he had called it. The press had resisted the suggestion as strongly as she could, but in the end, my parents had agreed to it readily, and so here we were. And now, Akano was clinging to me like glue, unwilling to let go. I was happy, but the present Ozzy was staring at me with pained, or rather frightening gazes. Akano, you're enjoying this, aren't you? Your breasts feel lovely pressing against me, but still... Issei, I'll sleep with you tonight. There are a lot of things I wanted to do with you in bed. Seriously? Whoa. My nose is bleeding. Azia, you don't mind if I sleep in your room, do you? Zenobia asked. Azia, however, continued to stare at Akano and me with watery eyes. It looked like they were going to be angry with me later. The press pinched me on the cheek, letting out a sigh. This house is getting rather crowded, don't you think? It'll have to be remodeled during summer break. I'll see what my brother can do. What? What's going to happen to the Hyoto residents now? Regardless, the school semester had ended, which meant summer break. I could enjoy myself all day long. That said, now that I was living with the press and everyone else, there was no telling what kind of perverted situations might befall me. It was all going according to plan. Actually, it seemed more likely that nothing was following any sort of plan now that I thought about it. After all, I was the press's servant, Akano's pet junior, and Azia's protective brother. Summer was supposed to be the most important time of the year for a high schooler like me. It was the perfect occasion to lose my virginity. Just having to think about having to endure my classmates bragging about their conquests when school resumed was just too much. Although unlikely, if Matsuda or Motohama were to beat me to the punch, I would lose all hope. That long-awaited life of earthly pleasure. Because of my training schedule, it was further away than ever. I couldn't overlook the fact that I had to get stronger, however. Catching up to Vali was crucial. Even if I only moved closer inches at a time, if I was going to survive as a demon, I needed to level up. Not to mention that if I was going to rule a harem, I would need physical prowess. Yet all I wanted most was to have sex with the press during summer break.